Hello, everyone. We're doing a walk and talk for the day. This is our third episode. This one's really special because, for one, I'm doing it in English for the first time. And the whole purpose of the walk and talk is for me, old dad, to get some exercise. And today I'm joined by Matt Cowan. Do you say that, Cowan?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
who is a friend and also a YouTuber. He's got his own channel called, what is it?
It's called Matt's Vietnam Life.
Yeah, and so we thought we'd do a walk and talk together and kind of co-appear on each other's shows.
Yeah, help each other out.
Yeah.
It's all about collabs.
So us old guys, we need to start walking, and we're gonna start here at Crescent Mall, nearby, near where we live, and we'll give you guys a walk around this area, and then across to the park, and maybe we'll stop and get some
something to eat or
coffee
whatever.
or food.
Okay,
right, let's
do
go.
It. Yeah.
So, can you, Matt, share a little bit about why you're here? You're obviously from Australia.
Yep.
But why are you here in Vietnam?
That's a good question. I came here back in 1999, I think it was, as a backpacker.
Okay.
So I came here for about, I think it was 3
before
weeks.
Before 2K and Y2K.
Yeah. At the time I was living in Japan, and I had a friend who'd been over here, and he really liked Thailand, and they also went to Vietnam, and he said, Matt, you've got to go over there and check it out. So I had a sort of a 3-week holiday here, bought a ticket to Hanoi, and back in those days, the airport, as you'd probably remember, as it is still today, a long way out of town, but it was all rice paddies. I'd landed in the middle of the day, and I think it was around about this time of year. It was beautiful, and just loved the whole trip. Bought a bus ticket and went from north to south on a bus.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so the bus went from coach, like 30 or 40 people, down. It dwindled its way down to like a little minibus or a taxi by the time we got to the end after a couple of weeks. So I always thought I'd come back. I enjoyed that trip immensely, and I just thought, one day I'll go back. And then in my previous life I was a teacher, and that's sort of what brought me here. So back in 2009 I was about 34, 35 at the time, and I thought, okay, this is my last chance to live overseas again. Where can I go? And I was teaching English, and I started to look around, and I realized there was an Australian university here. So I contacted them in probably October of 2009.
Oh, right, okay.
And I was here in January 2010.
So I started just before you. I started in October 2008.
Okay.
So,
and for a bit of context, you worked with my wife, my now wife.
Yes.
Basically, in the same department. So.
Were we? No, she was in. We're in the same.
She was in
school.
comms. Same school. Yeah.
But I was always in digital media, or back then it was multimedia design.
Right. Yeah.
But I teach the film courses there.
Yeah. Right.
And then it became digital media, and I taught the film courses in digital media, and now I program manage the digital film and video program there. Yeah.
So that would have changed a lot over the past 15 years. So that sort of, I applied for I actually emailed them and said, how do I get a job with you guys? And they're like, oh, well, as it happens, we're looking for people. Here's an application pack, fill it out. Within about a week, I was, that was sort of early days of Skype and stuff like that, I think it was. I had a Skype interview. And they said, when can you start? And I'm like, well, there's nothing really holding me down here. I didn't have kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I said, January's good. And I was here. And then in classrooms by about Feb. It was just after Tet.
Yeah.
Tet holiday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and been here ever since.
Yeah, but that's how we know each other, is from working at RMIT.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. Yep.
It's quite a journey, huh? So you were on the road, on this bus and taxis and everything. And what was that feeling like? Because it was probably
terrifying.
raw back
then, right? the tourism industry here was very much in its infancy. I don't think anyone knew what they were doing. Like, you know, the tour guides and us, you know, it was like that case of being herded around like cattle, you know, loaded onto buses and not being really sure where you were really going. I can remember getting a ticket and for a boat cruise on Halong.
Okay.
I had no idea what that was back then.
So you've done no research?
Not really. Well, we had Lonely Planet back in the day, but I was a little bit stubborn. I didn't want to carry that thing around, and I just sort of subscribed.
Adventure, right? You just...
Yeah, and it was, you know, back then when people were traveling, you'd stay at hostels and you'd just talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go downstairs when you arrived, probably have a beer, have something to eat, and there'd be someone sitting around. You'd just say, you know, what's Halong Bay like? And they're like, oh, you got to see it. Go. This is where I bought the ticket. It's a day trip or whatever. So we did that. And I can remember the tour guides herding us on the bus. Get on, sit down.
And did people speak English at that time?
Yeah, but it was, it wasn't natural. It was very robotic.
Much different than now.
Yeah, and we sort of had to sit through the propaganda thing, you know, like, you know, the very proud kind of, this is what Vietnam is and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
very proud country, yeah.
You got rammed with that a lot. But it was beautiful. Halong was beautiful. And I went to Cat Ba Island, and that was before the boom. So, very interesting times. I think, from memory, the buses left every evening, and so it was like a ticket that you could get that lasted for like a month. It was sort of like a get on, get off kind of thing. Okay. And the hostel would book you in advance, so the bus stopped. Yeah. And I don't think I slept a wink. You know, it was like sleeping with one eye open the whole time because of the traffic. I mean, the traffic was probably worse than because of the infrastructure, and roads back then were the main thoroughfare for everybody.
Pretty dusty and bumpy back then. Huh?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. So that's sort of my background. Been here since, it's been over 15 years now, and as you'd know, with work and things like that, you know, they sort of 2-year contracts sort of roll over, and you just keep rolling with it, you know. But then it becomes your home.
Absolutely.
So people say to me, you know, when are you going back to Australia? And I got a little bit offended by that during the COVID pandemic.
Was it because of family and friends saying, hey, how come you don't go home given the situation?
It was more the Vietnamese, because they were like, why are you here? Like, you've got a home to, go back. And it sort of made me think about perhaps that's still how the Vietnamese see me, that I'm here short term. Yeah, I'm passing through.
Have you picked up the language?
I knew you were going to get it. Ang sang dua. Maybe we can talk about that over breakfast.
Yeah.
But,
oh wow, look at that, storks.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah, it's very serene. I should come out here more often now in the morning, right?
Yeah, it's very nice, and there's a park. We're going to see a park.
Yeah, we're gonna walk the park.
Actually, we're walking fairly quickly. We're going to get through this.
Well, we got to loop around.
I'm rambling a little bit. So
the whole purpose is talking, but also walking and exercising, right? So
apologies for the heavy breathing into the mic. I make excuses all the time about my Vietnamese language skills. And my first excuse is, it's not really a language that you can pick up. You need to put time into it. Yeah. You need to sit down. You need to either go to a school or sit down with a book, or, you know, watch YouTube. You really need to devote time to it. You can't just pick it up out on the street. Say like you probably could with Japanese. You know,
is Japanese easier?
Yeah. It's easier in terms that it's not a tonal language like Vietnamese. Yeah. And I studied it at university, and I lived in Japan for 3 years. So, and I made a conscious effort to really learn the language, and I was quite good at it, but not anymore. Yeah.
I think the thing with Vietnamese is the nice thing is it's monosyllabic, so each word is one syllable.
Right.
But it's mastering the tone, so understanding like the different tones with the different diacritics and what tone it makes, and then the combination of the diacritics as well on different vowels as well, right?
Yeah. And you've probably noticed that I've got an Australian accent, and we naturally tend to finish phrases on an upward tone.
Okay.
We'll say, it's a beautiful day, I'm kind of hungry, and then a question, of course, how are you, qua? And we also draw out our vowels as well. And so as a Vietnamese speaker, you'd know that there's a lot of, oops, sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud, but, when you pronounce Vietnamese words that the vowels are stopped by the little, what's the dot? The dot under.
It's a dấu nặng.
Yeah,
it's
the dấu nhẫn.
The period, right? The heaviness.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Look, looks like a film production or something
they do
going on.
You might be able to get a part-time job there.
No, I might know some of the crew. I wonder what they're shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a commercial because they got like.
Yeah, they do a few here. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Because the park's very nice.
Yeah.
I saw a sort of a before or a then and now
of this part?
Photo of this area.
Wow, okay.
Taken from a helicopter back in 1993.
Yeah.
So right about here, we would have been probably knee deep in rice paddies.
I can imagine, yeah.
What's that?
I kind of, the one regret that I have is like, back then, people were saying like, you should just buy something here, like a house or something.
Yeah.
And I think like you, I don't think we ever thought we'd ever be here this long.
No.
And that's why that was never a consideration, But imagine if you had bought like a house here, like what the value would be when we arrived, right?
Well,
15.
I mean, I don't know about your being Vietnamese American, but I wouldn't be able to buy.
Yeah.
It was actually, it wasn't until about
that was the problem, right?
Yeah. I think it was about 2014 when foreigners could first buy apartments.
Yeah.
I think. Which is a really interesting period. Might be interesting for your viewers. Like when we came here, 2010 to 2014, I felt like things were just kind of stagnant. Like there wasn't a lot happening. It was interesting and all that sort of stuff. But then 2014, I don't know, maybe you know better than me, but I think there was a lot more foreign investment that came into the country. Those sorts of things were relaxed. More international companies coming here. The F&B scene blew up. And development with apartments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they got more open to, a lot more, as you said, investments, and then just a lot of companies, I think, saw the value of being here, because it's a huge population, very young population.
Yep.
That's when kind of the movie industry started to build out, the theaters started to build out, and that's what got more people to come back. Yeah,
a little bit more disposable income.
Yeah, that as well.
And the manufacturing industries came over. I think China was sort of, wages went up in China, and the manufacturing industry, the textile industry started looking elsewhere to set up, and Vietnam was a place, and Vietnam was very open to that. So that brought in a lot of investment. And the last 10 years really have gone pretty crazy, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think where, the question is, where could we have been had there not been COVID? Because that was when we were starting to really ramp up,
Yeah. And, for my work at that time as well, just to give you viewers again a little bit of my background, when I left the university, so that was around...
What year was it?
That was around 2015, I think, 2014, 2015, so nearly 10 years, more than 10 years or so. I dilly-dallied around a little bit. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do. It coincided with turning 40. Not that I was going through. I'm probably going more of a thing now. Being
menopause
50.
or midlife?
I felt like I was at the top of my game at 40.
Okay.
That was a good period. It's a good age. 50 is another story. And then eventually I sort of fell into writing.
Yeah.
And I started working for an English language magazine here, and what
magazine was that?
Word.
Okay,
Word
okay. That was about the same time as like Asia Life and that stuff. Yeah.
Those magazines came out of originally the two guys that set those up. They were together. They were working together, and then they decided to go their own ways. And we covered things like everything. You know, resorts, hotels, bars, restaurants, holidays.
Lifestyle, so people doing yoga out here this morning. Wow, that's amazing. That's talent. Could we do that, man?
Looks painful. I should be doing something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I sort of fell into that, and it was an English language magazine, of course, and it was print.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of straddling the whole print, digital media divide, you know, digital media with, you know, Facebook and socials and all that sort of stuff. Social media was starting to gain momentum, and then for whatever reason, they didn't really seem to have a strategy in place to bring everything online. So eventually it folded.
So neither of them, right? So
not really. Those
were the magazines to pick up if you were like an expat.
Yeah, that's right.
To learn about what's happening in
yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. I used to interview people, and you know, the odd famous person here and there. Whoops. But that was around, when was that? That's about 2016, sort of 2015, 16, 17. And then, of course, Facebook really wound up here. You know, businesses started to use money, spend money on Facebook to get the word out.
Less expensive to advertise on Facebook.
Yeah. So print media, you know, like everywhere else, sort of died here. Except in the local community. You know, you still see the old newspapers around and stuff like that. There's still people who like to read print. The older generation, right? But
so they never made an attempt to go digital?
No, they did. They were on Twitter, Facebook, you know, all those sorts of things. But
there are maybe a lot of early movers that took over that space,
right?
And
YouTube really got going as well, I think. So, and here we are.
Yeah.
You know, I pushed back a long time with video because people said to me, "Oh, why don't you do video?" And I'm like, "Oh, how do you edit a video?
Yeah.
You know, what sort of camera?" And of course,
you should have picked my brain back then and got me into it earlier.
But
you know?
I wouldn't allow myself to get that far. I was just like, no, video. I'm not going to do video.
Okay.
And as it turns out, I probably should have done that, and you know. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But here we are. Yeah.
But it's never too late.
I don't think so. I think there's an audience for everyone, and as they say, you know, your content's just got to find its audience.
Yeah. And I think your writing background really set you up well to telling stories in video, right?
Yeah, and it was a sort of a progression. You know, it wasn't like, okay, straight to video and try and put something together. But I'm still learning. But yeah, the writing background has helped with any videos that I do where I do a script.
Yeah.
Or I have, you know, sort of a running sheet of what I want to say. And that works. Someone said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, why don't you write more?" And I'm like, well, actually, a lot of the videos that I do, it'll have a script, and I've spent a day or two on it.
Yeah.
You know, trying to condense things, trying to add a little bit of humour, and not wasting people's time. You know, the viewers' time.
But it's still storytelling, right? So even when you're creating a video, and this is where one of my friends is actually doing something called digital screenwriting, where he basically has taken a position that editing is storytelling, And so, in essence, when you're editing, you're actually digitally screenwriting.
Right.
So people tell stories that way now. You know, it doesn't have to be pre-written. It doesn't have to be a blueprint for a video, but it is the process of writing with video, you know?
The downside has been for me that I didn't have a background in video like you. So all that sort of side of it, I've had to, you know, just constantly second guessing myself. It's like, oh, is the intro good, or is this the right spot to do it? Is the timing good? Am I speaking too slowly? You know, is the cadence in my voice right? And I've got an Australian accent, so I've noticed that on some of my videos, the subtitle, people watching with subtitles, it's gone up.
Okay.
It's got, you know, about 10% of my viewers watch with a subtitle, but that could be local Vietnamese watching.
I've been told by my nephew who just visited recently for his first time to Vietnam, but he goes, I sound Australian. He goes, I don't sound American anymore. And I'm like, no way, I gotta sound American? What's your thought? You're an Aussie.
Well,
do I sound?
Oh, you?
He said I sound Aussie now.
You sound nothing like an Aussie.
Nothing.
No.
That's what I thought.
I thought you were saying he thought he sounded.
No, he's American, but coming back and hearing me, because we don't see each other very often, right?
Right.
So he goes, yeah, you don't sound American anymore. You sound Aussie.
Well,
I don't think so.
Your pronunciation may have rounded off a bit, and people say to me, "Oh, are you English?" or "Oh, I thought you were Kiwi." You know. So, and I grew up in a very rural area in Australia, regional Australia. My father was a dairy farmer, so I had a very, as we say, ochre, knockabout Aussie accent. But because I've lived overseas for a long time, I've had to adjust that.
Yeah.
You know, and I taught as well, so.
And your family's has come here to visit you?
Interesting. Someone asked me that the other day. My mum's been here. My sister came before I ever came to Vietnam. So she came for a holiday in the mid-90s, but she hasn't been back. And she sort of mentioned recently she wanted to come.
Yeah.
I've been trying to urge my eldest brother to come.
Yeah.
But he's still got one kid before he's an empty nester.
Okay.
So he might come. He loves motorbikes as well, like me. He loves motorbikes and food.
You like big motorbikes too.
Yeah, and I just tease him all the time. I'm like, come over.
This is nice. This is what you don't see very much in America, you know, all of a sudden a lotus pond.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
National flower, isn't it, as well, of Vietnam?
Absolutely, yeah. That's why you see it on the Vietnam Airlines, you know.
Even we could grow something here. You know, you drop something in the ground that just as my father used to say, plant a 6-inch nail and grow a crowbar. That's what you could do here. You just put it in the ground and it just grows.
Yeah.
You know. And my younger brother, who happens to be, he happens to be a quadriplegic.
Okay.
He had a motorcycle accident when he was 16. He's now edging towards 50.
Okay.
So he's been in the chair most of his life.
So it was a bad one then, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was really bad.
That's the thing.
High level.
That's the thing. Like over there, you when you do ride, you ride with so much speed.
Yeah, it's a lot
in comparison to here, where you might bump into something and fall over, but then you get back on and keep riding.
Yeah, a bit of skin off. You know. So that was interesting. In the lead up to that, we were like, okay, how are we gonna? He was very keen to come, and I was encouraging him to come, but I was like, okay, so how are we going to do this? Because it's not like he's a paraplegic who they can use their arms and lift themselves. He can't really put much downward pressure to get him to move himself around. So my first challenge was like, how are we going to get you from the airport to your hotel? Now, any of you who are watching who have been to Vietnam, you'll know where this is going, because the traffic and the motorbikes, and they don't actually have there might be these days, but vehicles that
lift,
you can
right?
lift or push people straight into the back of the bus.
Yeah.
You know. So at one stage we were toying with the idea of one of those, you know, the motorbikes with the tray on the back.
Oh, okay.
We were going to load him up at the airport, tie him down and take him through the streets on the back of that. But in the end, we just got a taxi.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it worked really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there might be some of your viewers who are elderly or in a wheelchair like my brother. Don't let that put you off coming, because the Vietnamese saw him coming. Even Grab drivers would get off their motorbike on the footpath and move their bike to allow him to go past. But I spent most of the time pushing him on the roads, just straight down the road.
Yeah, that's
and people went around.
That's one of the things that I love about Vietnam. It's very communal.
Yeah.
Everybody is aware of the others.
Yep.
And they will support you. They will, chat with you. There's no reservations. Whereas in certain places, like, you don't even know your neighbors.
Oh yeah,
at all.
For sure.
For
sure. Yep.
Whereas here, pretty much everybody if you're in a little area.
And I hope it doesn't change as the population moves into more high-rise apartments and more sort of Western style living. I hope the Vietnamese way, that communal lifestyle that you talk about in, the older, what do you call them? Chung cư?
Yeah.
The old apartment blocks.
I would even say, old chung cư or hams, like people living in alleyways.
Yeah.
They're so, I think, close, and they provide a support structure.
Yeah.
So if like somebody goes down, the whole area or the neighborhood, everything work together.
Yeah. I hope that never leaves.
Yeah. This is cool. Wow, they got like all the gear.
There's a lot of gear. Hey?
Yeah, this is like a TV commercial shoot.
This is your kind of space. See, I'm totally out of place here.
Yeah, this is my world. But
do you recognize anyone? It's all the young generation coming through. Yeah.
They got a lot of good gear. This is a commercial shoot, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty hardcore. They got the video village. Yeah.
But you've got to do everything in the morning, don't you? Otherwise
earlier,
it gets too late.
Once the sun comes up.
I'm already sweating bullets.
I know. Some of these guys. How are you? Oh my God.
Lâu quá luôn á.
Yeah, long time no see.
I'm Matt.
Yeah, we're doing a little YouTube video, so it's awesome that we get to see you. Nhớ anh khỏe không?
Thầy em luôn hả? Thầy em.
Trời, hồi đó là.
Ủa hả? Thầy Robert của em.
Anh Khoa làm đạo diễn phim ở Việt Nam đầu tiên, anh làm rapper cho em.
Yeah. Mà bây giờ thì chạy mấy cái này quá trời, thiết bị quá trời. Cho lần sau thầy làm phim thì nhớ hẹn gặp lại. Dạ. Lâu quá. Thấy nguyên cái đoạn phim này quay quảng cáo hả? Hàng chi đồ thiết bị quá trời. Hả? Ở đây dạy học ở đây mà. Dạ. Đang đi quay, bây giờ là chuyển sang quay YouTube. Đi vòng vòng nói chuyện xong rồi chia sẻ trên YouTube. Dạ. Nhưng mà sẽ một ngày nào cũng đang muốn quay lại làm phim. Có một cái kịch bản đang viết cho cái tiến sĩ á, thì đang sau khi cái phim Địa đạo thành công thì tại nó cũng là cái đề tài chiến tranh đó, thì đang muốn quay một cái phim về cái đề tài đó, thì cũng hy vọng là 1-2 năm nữa ráng kiếm tiền đầu tư để làm phim.
Dream team của anh đây.
Okay.
The gear's a little bit different, isn't it?
This is like this is like all hardcore,
Amazing.
Gimbal and Steadicam equipment. So, and they actually ride. He actually is amazing riding on those little. Yeah. Okay. Chào các em. Wow, this is pretty. Hello.
Oh, they're gonna go. Are we gonna be in it? Can we go?
Wow.
Can we go this way?
Bye bye.
There's the title of your video. I
Wow.
made it into a Vietnamese commercial. And I'll go this side with my mic.
Yeah. So pretty awesome. Yeah, run into some old colleagues who in student alumni who worked on my, the colleague worked on my film. It was his first film, and it was one that I directed.
How many films have you done?
I've actually directed 2 feature films here.
Wow.
And none of them box office success. And that's been the thing that has kind of held me back. And then I sold the screenplay that got produced into a feature film.
Okay.
And that one, it's a little...
You're not retired, put it that way.
Yeah.
You haven't retired on the beach.
I stepped away as a result. I think there was just a lot of changes on the screenplay. More changes than I expected, and I wasn't involved in the process of, updating the screenplay.
Right.
But it is what it is, because once you sell a screenplay, then it's the director's vision,
Right.
And I'm sure that there are a lot of constraints in producing a film here, the need to make it commercial, etc.
Right. Yeah.
So I've come to terms with it.
And perhaps was it comedy? Was there humor in it?
It was it was a drama.
Yeah.
It was just about.
That might be sorry to cut you off, but maybe that's something you can teach me about, or teach us about, Vietnamese humor as opposed to Western humor.
Yeah.
I've heard that Western humor sort of has the storytelling, and then it uses a lot of irony to drop the what do you call it? The
punchline.
The punchline. Whereas Vietnamese, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but it's sort of constantly punchlines. Mm-hmm. Quite short, punchy. I don't know.
They still allow a lot of physical humor.
Right. Okay.
Which I think is
Slapstick?
more universal. Yeah, I think it's moved away from that. Like now, it's a lot of play with words type of humor as well.
Yep.
But I see the ones that a lot of viewers, young people like to see, is it's still the physical humor.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So meaning playing a prank on someone and
and then
getting a laugh out of someone.
Yeah, just sometimes over exaggeration of certain things.
Yep.
Certain actions.
Yep.
Speeding up things, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I find sometimes very humorous as well. But I think that humor, I think it is different in every country. Every country has a different type of humor that they explore.
Yeah. Well, we've probably got different ideas of humor. American humor and Aussie humor. There's probably someone in the comments can tell us what the difference is. They might be seeing it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to do more dramatic work. I like drama. If I do comedy, it'll be dramedy. So a little bit more serious with a mix of moments of comedy, and maybe having a comic relief character rather than an all-out comedy.
Okay.
And then I like war films. I like big, epic, dramatic pieces.
Right.
So recently there was a film called Did Out, which is about the Cu Chi tunnels.
Ah, right.
Which I thought was quite amazing. In terms of production value.
Wow. In
terms of it being a privately funded film, and it was very moving. I wish I went there though, wanting to cry, and I didn't find that place.
Right. Okay.
But it was very touching film. Obviously, I think because of the time period now, that's so relevant.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, especially with the build-up of the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
How have you found it in Saigon? Has it been interesting?
Yes, I've done my little walk around.
Oh, right, you have.
I want to be down there for the parade, but obviously managing, like if I go by myself, totally cool, But then my kids want to go. How do I manage that?
Right.
In terms of safety, in terms of, and still be able to do what I kind of want to do, which is to capture the moment, capture my feelings about it. and just the pageantry of it, you know,
So
getting lost in it.
what are your feelings as a, well, you identify as what? Vietnamese American or American, I don't know, Vietnamese or Vietnamese primarily? What are you, Khoa?
I mean, I see myself as Vietnamese. I'm obviously
Right.
different in that I'm a Vietnamese who lived, you know, who came of age in the U.S. So there's a lot of very American things.
So you were
about
born
me.
here?
I was born here,
Yeah.
born in 1971.
Right.
And left in 1975.
Right.
But returned in 2005. So this June will be 20 years for me. So it's a big anniversary for me, you know, a big milestone.
Yeah.
But I don't see myself as Vietnamese American in the sense that I'm, I love Vietnam. I love being here. I connect with being here. I connect with the people and the lifestyle and everything. Like I always felt there was something kind of missing in the U.S. Although I'm very American. I love, you know, cheeseburgers. And I love American football, you know, which I still watch.
Yeah.
And but there's still something very Vietnamese in me, you know. And so I just see myself as Vietnamese, but who grew up in America and who's returned. And live here.
Yeah, and chosen to probably see out your days here, do you think? You'll
For the
live
most
here
part,
forever?
I think so, unless there's
Depending on the kids, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, the kids may go to... We've been walking for over half an hour. Should we stop somewhere and get some coffee and a breakfast?
Towel off a bit. I'm sweating so much. We're building up to the rainy season. We're just about on it, so yeah.
Is it open now? King Cross?
Looks like they've got their lights on, so...
Okay.
Yeah, this will be a good spot. Oh yeah, here we go.
Awesome. So we kind of just set the camera up and we can sit and chat. You want to sit here?
Yeah.
Sit here.
Is the light good?
Yeah.
I might sit on this side because of the mic.
Yeah, okay.
If we look at the camera.
Can you have a seat?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
How's that?
That's good. I'm hot.
How long's your battery go for? I'm just sweating.
I think we should be good for about an hour.
Okay.
We'll find out when it cuts off, then we'll know.
I'll try and sit like this. Ah, thanks, Sam. She saw that I was just sweating everywhere. What are you doing? We'll have a coffee. Did you want any brekkie?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. Let's grab something.
Maybe we can show the viewers what a sort of a breakfast in this area is like.
Yeah.
The prices seem okay for a place on this lake.
Absolutely.
Here.
Paying for the view, right? Paying for the atmosphere. Cho một cái cà phê đen đá nha, không đường.
Where is that? Here. Yeah. I'll have a. I might have a suada, cafe suada.
Yep, I have the soda.
Yeah, this one.
Vietnamese
Here.
milk coffee.
Yeah, come on in. Thank you.
What do you want to eat?
I don't know. Maybe.
Cho anh một cái egg benedict nha.
Yeah.
Oh, eggs You're going to have an eggs
I'm
Benny?
having eggs
Oh no, I'm just
Benedict.
going to go something light, I think. Healthy breakfast? Okay, interesting. French toast. It's got. Oh, looks a bit heavy for me. Healthy salad. Look, I might have a fruit salad. Yeah, I'm going to go healthy today.
Wow.
I'm going to mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
Dạ, em lọc lại đầu của mình nha. Của mình là có một cà phê đen đá không đường, một cà phê sữa và một egg benedict và seasonal fresh fruit salad.
Yeah. Come on.
That's it.
Thank you,
Coming in. Thank you.
Let's dampen up or
Towel off a bit.
towel off. Yeah.
Woo! I move this here because I do it all the time when I'm filming, and then I go, put a water bottle in front of the
Okay.
camera. You know, do you want another one?
Yeah. Thank you. It is humid, even for early
man.
in the morning, but I'm glad we did it early.
Oh, yeah.
When we got nice overcast, though, but still gets a bit...
I think the overcast weather traps it as well, doesn't it? Traps the moisture.
Yeah. But I've noticed that, because I've lived here so long now, nearly 20 years, my body has somewhat adjusted. And I do a little better than obviously my relatives who come over for 2 weeks a month. So
I think it's a real consideration, isn't it, for people who are thinking about, there might be people watching and thinking about moving here. Where should they live? And I think if one of the major considerations is climate, weather. So down here super humid, rainy, very rainy. Whereas Central is probably a bit more seasonal.
But you get the storms, though, right?
You get the storms that come in through from the Philippines across the sea. So, and it actually gets cold. I don't want to move not much, if ever, I don't really want to move much further north from here.
Okay.
I don't want to do cold weather.
I could do, I haven't been to Da Nang in the winter. Yeah, I have. It's stormy,
it's gray.
You could be in your home for a week because it's raining the whole week.
Yeah.
I've been up there. In that season where we go on holiday and you're just in a hotel room the whole week.
Yeah.
But I like the people there. I think in terms of the cost of living, it's nice, and then you get if you're a filmmaker like me, you get the beach, you get the city, and you get the mountains in one place, which is incredible.
Places like Hoi An.
Yeah.
Sort of the historic buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Da Nang's going through a massive boom. People are, there's a lot of content out there about whether you should live in Da Nang or not, and who it's suitable for. Digital nomads are finding it a place to be.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit cheeky. I'll comment sometimes and go, have you considered the weather? Because, the typhoons come through there. There's a lot of flooding.
Yeah.
Even though it's fairly brief. I think the season's brief.
Yeah.
And then there's Hanoi, which gets very cold.
Yeah.
So do you want to live in cold, stormy, or just humid? Which area? I think it's a real consideration.
Yeah, but that all depends on jobs too, right?
True. Yeah.
So I think at some point, if the YouTube thing does well and we can have an income, and at some point, when I get too old, I would love to.
Well,
retire.
You're already old dad.
I am old.
Isn't the channel old dad and young mum?
Yeah, but then at some point I'll be elderly dad.
Grandpa.
Yeah, and at that point I'll be like, okay, it's time to.
So where would you move? Which would be in Vietnam?
I mean, for us, like Da Nang, we've considered it. We don't know what the cost of living will be when we decide that, but I think it'll still be less expensive than here.
Yep.
And then we just got to see what the development is, because at some point when you get older, you don't care about the nightlife anymore and all that stuff.
I was thinking about that on the way over. I was like, what am I going to tell Qua about me? And then that popped into my head. It was 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm walking over to talk to another old guy on YouTube. And I'm like, hang on, that's it. I'm up early. It's a Saturday morning. Haven't been out on a Friday night. Didn't drink. Went out for dinner, actually.
Yeah.
Didn't have one drink. And that's my life now. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I don't miss
You
anything.
appreciate just the small things, It's not... It doesn't have to be crazy anymore, I'd like to avoid all the craziness. Yeah. And that's why, hence, I'm a little hesitant about the crowd. Like, I don't do well in crowds. And obviously with a family, you're always concerned about your children. I got one of those little cables for my boy. Because he's a runner,
Right.
You just want to keep him at a distance. Otherwise, you might lose him. And so we'd have to do that, and then just obviously telling them, hey, you got to stick close to us. And obviously you have to designate a point, like if my daughter who's 9 gets lost, you go here. so there's a point where we can meet up if we get lost. Because sometimes it happens, you know, in
And
crowds.
I think we're talking about this because of the anniversary celebrations and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you're the same as me. I've never seen a build-up like this to any sort of event. And I was just looking at some social media this morning, just before we came, and some of the new, some of the recent stuff from last night already. Tang Street has been closed off. Okay. And it is just a sea of people. Yeah. It's like Winhui Street when the national football team plays. Yeah. But down Tang Street, Winhui Street. And this is what, 4 days before the actual event. So I don't know how big it's going to be. It's going to be massive. Yeah. I don't know how massive. You know? And you got to get, you know, if you're going to kind of, are you live streaming or are you going to just shoot video? Well, I was thinking about live streaming, so tune in if you can. Yeah, I'm going to try to. My only concern is just the connection, right? Yeah, the connection and Wi-Fi. So we're going to have to try and find a place that's got a stable connection and hopefully be able to show a little bit. But 4G, 5G won't do it, huh? No. I think when you're live streaming and you're moving, things get patchy. Yeah. And as soon as you lose that connection, you lose it with your audience. And you know, and they move on. And you know, everybody's going to be live streaming that day. Yeah, I said this. So the networks are going to be so congested. I said this to my wife. Cheers, man. Yeah, cheers. I know, this is funny. We're not cheering a beer, but it's a yo for a coffee. I said, it's good. That's good. Probably not good for my teeth or my waistline, but who cares? Yeah, I said that to my wife last night. I was like, okay, everybody is going to be filming it. Not only just the Wi-Fi, but also, you know, what you're going to get. Other people are going to produce amazing footage as well. What can I bring to my channel that's a little bit different? And I think that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to. Because we can't compete with the big guys and the young, the great-looking guy. Well, I think the AP is going to be there, right? Yeah. Near the grandstand where on Lejuang, where the reunification palace is. Yep. Like, you can't compete and get down there. No. So you're going to see a very small sliver of it. So it's going to be your personal commentary that's going to make it different, right? Yeah. What's your view on it and your feelings and thoughts about it? But then I'm going to have to be, I'm also a little bit careful with what I want to say. You know, I don't want to come across as negative, which I'm not. I think it's an event that is clearly galvanizing everyone who's here. Yeah. From what I can see. Yeah. You know, obviously there's two sides to the story, but I think what's coming out is Vietnamese pride. There's pride in the country. And the other thing is peace. Yeah. You know, you see it on the banners, you know, and that's what I really like about it. Peaceful. And I can relate to that. And as a foreigner who has no skin in the game really, like, you know, I'm not Vietnamese. Well, you do because you live here. Yeah, so you do. Yeah. In that sense. Here. Yeah. But I feel like I can feel it already that I'm a little bit restrained in what I would say in my commentary and perhaps just be more observing of what's happening. Absolutely. Perhaps talk to a few people. Yeah. How are you feeling? Yeah. You know, how's this make you feel, you know? Yeah. But I can only see the upside. Yeah. And I really hope it goes well. Yeah. I hope all the parades go really well. The the air shows and stuff that have been going on already. Yeah. What are we going to do next month? When it's done, this place is just going to go back to normal. It's been exciting. And I wouldn't say that I have mixed feelings, but I'm just trying to kind of unpack how I feel, you know, and I think that's what I'll probably share, which is this you know, somebody who obviously grew up in the US, but in essence I've returned and I've lived here almost 20 years. Yeah.
So it's a very different perspective than somebody who's just lived overseas and then come back for a holiday, you know?
Oh, totally. There'll be so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And the other thing that strikes me about the Vietnamese, and I watch a lot of YouTube, obviously, and a lot of the questions that I see coming from Americans are like, oh, do the Vietnamese like Americans? You know, and it's like, oh, this shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
You know, just the ability, it seems, that the Vietnamese can move on from something like this.
Yeah.
And go, okay, we've got peace. Now what? Let's try and keep peace, and let's try and develop and move on.
Yeah.
And not hold grudges.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of things happening here that I couldn't see happening in Australia.
Yeah.
You know, we're a different people, and I think perhaps we hold grudges more somehow. I don't know what. I don't know. There might be someone have a go at me in the. No, thank you.
Yeah. Come on.
There might be someone in the comments say something about that, but just in my experience,
yeah,
that's a real stark difference between the two.
Yeah,
Australians and Vietnamese.
And I think Australia and Vietnam have a good relationship, right? So,
yeah, we do. We have a strong relationship. Through. No, thank you.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. A strong trade relationship, and I think very early days, Australia and Vietnam restored diplomatic relations. I think it's been 50 years or something.
Yeah.
Close to, anyway. And of course, there are a lot of Vietnamese Australians. I think we've got 300 to 500,000 Vietnamese Australians. And they're coming back, and I've got some friends here who are Vietnamese Australian.
Yeah.
And they've found a home here, and they've been living here long term.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
That's the one thing that I really like about here is I feel safe.
Yeah.
Totally. You know, there are moments when I'm in the U.S. where I don't feel safe,
right.
And I've never felt unsafe here.
Yep.
Even back in the days when I was younger, out late at night, till early morning, walking the streets, and I never felt unsafe.
Probably the worst that could have happened to you back then, and maybe less so now, was just getting ripped off by the taxi driver who would see you stumble out of a bar and then take you around a little bit and take you a long way. You know, that would probably be the worst of it. Yeah, I think there's a strong respect for the shared space. I was talking to someone about it yesterday or recently. He's actually a Vietnamese Australian.
Okay.
He was here visiting.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this sort of stuff, and we were talking about the upcoming 50th anniversary, and he said, could you see this happening in Australia? And I was like, well, if it happened, there'd be a bunch of drunk guys over there, probably some fighting over there, there would be some arrests.
Yeah.
There would definitely be alcohol involved. And Australia has a very much smaller population than Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so you go out to these events and it's very family oriented. You don't see any real rowdy behaviour.
Yeah.
People are filming, they're making, the cute kids making their TikTok videos and stuff like that. It's only really positive stuff that you see. And I love it, And then it's also this shared experience where you go to an event like this, it's packed.
Yeah.
You're standing shoulder to shoulder, getting bumped out of the way, and all this sort of stuff. And then when it's over, there's that shared experience of trudging all the way back to either your motorbike or, in our case, the other night, we walked across the District 4 bridge and found a cab somewhere where it was quieter, but the other people were doing it.
Yeah.
And all we were getting, obviously I'm a white face, so all we were getting was, hello, and I was saying, I love Vietnam, and they're like, all that sort of stuff, waving their flags.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we would get that so much in Australia these days. Yeah. So that's really good. Love it.
Yeah, and just the fact that that they're so receptive to new things, you know, like, and how quickly things move here. Like if there's a new trend, like they're on it, you know, they're on it, and then you see it everywhere.
Totally. You know? Yeah, I think gone are the days where it's just like,
thank you.
You know, come to Vietnam to work. Yeah, you should show those. Here's a case in point. You know, this would be all cooked by local young Vietnamese kids. And they've done an eggs benny that looks like that. Looks amazing. You start, man. You start if you want. Yeah, I think gone are the days where it's like, okay, come to Vietnam, set up a business or whatever, and just enjoy the cheap labour.
Yeah.
Whereas the generations now that we're seeing in Vietnam, these are the guys who are at the forefront of things.
Yeah. And
if you happen to bring something that's cutting edge, they'll innovate and build on it.
Yeah.
You know, or adapt it to the local environment.
Yeah.
You know, and sitting back and watching this, you know, I'm just like, okay, all right, you guys, you know, take over, and I'll just sit back and watch and go along for the ride and see what happens.
And we get to share about it on YouTube, right? Share about the things that are happening here, the development, share about the youthful movement of, you know, of creation.
Yeah.
And that's why I love, I think, still teaching at the university, is that I get to help these young people realize their stories, you know, their dreams on the screen.
Yeah.
Whether it be the small screen or the big screen.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm even like, you know, although I love to make films and for the big screen, like I'm finding a sense of zest in doing it on YouTube.
Yeah.
In that we could tell these small stories, short format, little bursts, and you find little stories everywhere that
hopefully
pop
you're
up.
going to cut this back a little bit. I've been rambling on. I've been rambling on a little bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah. But it's you know, I'm finding a joy in telling these small stories as well.
Yeah.
In the sense that, you know, we get to tell it however we want it from our viewpoint.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Em. Come on. Oh.
Okay. The
all right.
so come out. You
let's
gotta
go
share
through it
that
a little
as
bit.
well.
Should we? I don't know if the camera will pick it up with the light, but
bring it closer.
We've got a mix. I hope that's all right. How do you? Can I touch that?
Yeah.
Will that?
Yeah.
Just so we can see. There we go. How about that? So we've got, I think it's grapes.
Okay.
I don't know where they'd come from. Do they grow grapes in Dalat or up north?
Probably Dalat, I would imagine.
Strawberries from Dalat, I'd say. Some mint. Dragon fruit. The white one there is dragon fruit. And of course, Vietnam exports a lot of dragon fruit.
Yeah.
And the dragon fruit farms are very close to here.
Very healthy.
Mango. I don't know what that is.
It's
Let me try.
Cantaloupe.
Oh, cantaloupe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what you call it in Australia. Cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe and rock melon. We interchange it a bit.
Okay.
Rock melon, cantaloupe. And cherries. Sorry. Is that what that is?
Blueberries?
Blueberries.
Yeah. Very healthy.
I'm trying to be healthy.
Yeah, we gotta slim down a little bit.
Well, hence the black shirts.
As we get older. But now we're gonna sit down and just enjoy our breakfast. So we'll sign off. I think it's a good place to sign off.
Yeah, I think so.
And then hopefully we'll pick up again on your show. Maybe a live stream where we'll pick things up and continue.
Sure. Yeah.
And so thank you for joining me on this walk and talk with old dad or Bo Ya.
Thanks, Bo Ya.
Yeah. So really appreciate you coming on and sharing. And yeah, it's all about us being here in Vietnam and sharing our experiences with you guys.
Yeah, cheers.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, old dad.
Yeah. Let's eat. Let's dine.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video. Đừng quên nhấn like, chia sẻ và đăng ký kênh để ủng hộ mình.
Nhớ xem những show mới và trước đây trên kênh Mẹ Trẻ, Bố Già.